I will say my podcast on Friday, where I break down why the John Bolton raid was legitimate, is already one of my top podcasts ever in terms of views. And some of the platforms, YouTube, it's just going bananas on YouTube, which is great. So it'll be about 11,000 views there, which is, high for me on that platform. I'm starting from scratch. So, one day it'll be millions, but for now, that's a good number for me there. And so people are liking that show. And so I appreciate it if you check that out. And then still, I didn't convince everyone apparently with it, because you start seeing stuff like the Wall Street Journal coming out over the weekend saying that it's hard to see the raid as anything other than vindictive. Who cares? It doesn't matter why. It matters if Bolton broke the law or not. And I read you those quotes from the judges and all over my Twitter. I read them all over the show on Friday, so you can check it out. My full explanation of why the raid's legit. But the judge had indicated that there were likely classified materials that he probably shouldn't publish. He was going to stop him from publishing it, but he indicated he probably shouldn't and could even be criminally liable. It's unlikely that, yet the Wall Street Journal writes, it's unlikely that Mr. Bolton broke any laws on national secrets, and he certainly didn't share any with us over our long association with him. I don't know what the Wall Street Journal's association was with Bolton. And maybe Bolton didn't want to shop them the Wall Street Journal with his name on it. Like, I don't know. And the editorial page over there is not in control of all of the news reporters and who their sources are. But the judge himself indicated that there was a very good chance that Bolton broke the law, as I've been writing about, tweeting about, and sharing with all of you. And so you see how the Lawfare superstructure really does include the establishment media. That's a point I've been making and will continue to make. So this is a particularly relevant point, that it is not only the legal element. The superstructure is not just the DOJ and the law firms and the judges. It's also the media that goes to bat for people like Bolton, where clearly there is a precedent for these raids, and there's evidence from this judge that Bolton maybe did something improper. The journal concluded the real offender here is a president who seems to think he can use the powers of his office to run vendettas. We said this was one of the risks of a second Trump term, and it's turning out to be worse than we imagined. But then how do you explain the judge suggesting Bolton could be divulging classified secrets and shouldn't do that? That was the federal judge, and Julie Kelly notes on Twitter, not a friend of Trump, but saying that the memoir did contain national security secrets. So he didn't block it, but it didn't mean that it was necessarily a good idea to put it out. Anyway, not to mention, the judge doesn't also review probably the final version. I mean, these things, I know this from the editing process, is that a lot of steps happen simultaneously. And I know this at Simon & Schuster. We have the same publisher as the legal vetting and the copy editing and the fact checking. Some of this all going on at the same time. So it's just the Wall Street Journal just feels like they have to just poke Trump. And it's just a reminder that if you want the real news, real truth, Breitbart News, The Marlow Show, that's where to go. So it did remind me of this clip of, what's his face, Ken Martin, who is the DNC chair, because the DNC is kicking off a festival of sorts where they have a big gathering in Minneapolis. And here is Ken Martin doing a press hit ahead of time. And you guys got to check this out.
Every Democrats should shut the government down if the president continues to use the Justice Department to go after his enemies, or if he keeps National Guard troops in the streets.
Yes, you have a fascist in the White House, and that requires us. We cannot be the only one playing by the rules with the hand tied behind our backs. That old playbook, the norms that, used to have guardrails on our democracy and protect all of us in this country, that doesn't exist anymore. We've got to throw that playbook out the window because the Republicans have. We cannot be the only party that's playing by the rules anymore. That's why I said this isn't your grandfather's Democratic Party where you bring a pencil to a knife fight. We are bringing a bazooka to a knife.
Well, let me read from Breaking the Law to Ken Martin here. So one of the things I tracked in the book was, of all the 6 major cases against Trump, all of them included novel interpretations of the law. And let me read from the book. In order to legitimize their political objectives, in the Stormy Daniels case, the court invented a new type of fraud that had never existed. It is exceedingly rare for a Manhattan DA to even bring a falsification of business records charges. And it was previously inconceivable that a payout to keep a scandal out of the news would be considered some kind of an election crime. The E. Jean Carroll case extended the definition of defamation to merely defending yourself against charges that appear to be entirely bogus. What's more, the arbitrary and extreme nature of the fines themselves were, in a word, novel. In Georgia, Fani Willis's case extended the bounds of RICO, and Jack Smith ferociously prosecuted Trump for a common violation that had traditionally been treated like a minor offense. This is beyond show me the man, I'll show you the crime. It's you show the superstructure, the lawfare superstructure, the man, they'll invent a new crime with which to charge him, then apply a ludicrously large penalty to it. So, of course, absurd, acting like Democrats play by the rules. They don't care about democracy. They rig their own primaries. They try to keep the standard bearer of the other party off ballots. They try to throw the standard bearer of the opposite party in jail. This is well established. And they certainly don't abide by any rules. They completely invent new rules in order to fight Trump. And that's what they do.